Welcome to the Chronicle YouTube channel. I'm Busta Brown, and I am sitting here with Bishop Sir Walter Mack.
Bless you,
man, we finally got a chance to make this happen.
Good to see you, man. Yes, sir.
You're looking good, sir.
Well, I feel good. Man.
Marriage does you well.
Yes,
Ministry doing you well.
It's been a blessing.
Man, I love that shirt, bro.
Bless you, sir.
Boy, you a clean brother.
You clean yourself.
Man, you know, I had to throw it. I do t-shirts and jeans, and I knew I was hanging out with you, so I had to step my game up, and I threw on the blazer.
I like t-shirts and jeans too.
I said, let me throw on the blazer and step my game up, man. How long you been doing this?
So I've been in ministry right here 24 years.
Wow.
And God's been good.
Been good to you,
it's been a great journey.
Yes.
And I'm thankful that I recognized what God was doing and fell in line with.
Yeah, that's what's up. This is Black History Month.
Yes.
And I decided to celebrate the legacy of those we can touch. You know, living legacies. You know, there's a long legacy in your family and ministry.
Yes.
Let's go back where it all began
Yes.
to where it is now.
Well, actually, I'm thankful for the legacy of ministry
Right.
in my family. My grandfather, who was not necessarily a preacher, but he would preach every now and then.
Right.
And also, he would build churches. Matter of fact, he built a church which was located right across the street from this church. And so I found that out in our history. But he was one who respected the church and loved the church. And so then my father comes along. He was one of 12 children, and he was a preacher. And then I had an uncle that was a preacher, two uncles that were preachers.
Right.
So it was always in my genes. And then on my mother's side, that she had a brother that was a preacher. My grandfather on her side was a deacon. So the church was always a very strong institution in our family.
Right. And not just the church leadership, ministry.
Church leadership,
has always been
ministry.
there. Yeah.
My father, who was a pastor, my mother was a registered nurse. So my mother was taking care of the physical body.
Yeah.
And my father
like
was taking
that.
care of the spiritual body.
I like
that. In looking back over it, I've always been around pastors and preachers. And believe it or not, Buster, I did not want to go into ministry because I had seen up close some things that I just did not want to go through as a pastor.
Right. Do you mind sharing like a few things that you've seen that you were like,
it's just a tremendous
right.
sacrifice of your family, of your time. You're not your own.
Gotcha.
Whenever you go into public, you belong to the public.
To the public.
And it's almost a thing of putting other people first in all things.
In all things.
I mean,
right.
and that's the truth. You know, I remember as a kid, we having a family vacation prepared to go. And we were in the car getting ready to go.
Wow.
And one of my father's members passed, which was one of his deacons. And of course, we had to unpack the car.
Wow.
You know, and so,
and growing up as a kid, seeing that,
and just the challenges, man, the betrayal, that you're loving people that would eventually betray you.
The Judases.
The Judases, man.
The Judases.
And so I wanted to go off and do well professionally and make some money.
Oh, I got you.
You know,
got you.
because I saw my father give his best, but he didn't always have the material things in return.
Right.
And that was cool because he made us feel like we had it all.
Yeah.
But I knew later that it wasn't that way. And so then I came along to that generation. I said, okay, if I'm gonna work this hard and go through all of that, then I'm gonna get something in return for that. But I'm so thankful that God arrested me in that. And I got to a place where after I accepted my call, it didn't matter what I made. I was just happy. I was just happy with the fulfillment of a call on my life and purpose. And man, and that's what I've been doing. I tried to run from it, man. I did some radio,
right?
You know, and I wanted to get into marketing.
You got the voice,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I did some radio at WAA. I went to Bermuda Evans, and she gave me an opportunity, but I wanted to get into the corporate thing with marketing and that kind of thing, and it just did not go that way. And God always had me in a position of leadership in terms of leading other people.
Right.
And even when I tried to deny that, it just kept.
And what an honor that God chose you. You know, I mean, that God chooses somebody. It's like, that's the biggest honor that you can ever, that can ever be bestowed on you. And the thing is that, you know, you were saying, man, you have to give so much of yourself and you have to put, you know, the people first. That's what Christ did, right?
That's right.
You know, can you imagine God? If God thought like that, we'd be in trouble. That God, like, this is my only begotten son.
Right.
You know, I mean, you know, do I love like this? You know, and I know what they're gonna be.
Right.
I'm jacked up. They're gonna be. I know this. I'm God. I know everything first.
Yeah.
And so, what an honor to take on that kind of leadership that God did for us and Christ did for us. When did you know, Bishop, that you were called?
Man, let me tell you. So I was working at the Workforce Development Department at Dr. Walter Mack, at that time, was the director. And he gave me an opportunity to work for him. And man, I was responsible for getting people back in school with GED programs and getting them jobs and that kind of thing. I loved the job. Man, it got to a place where I couldn't even do my job without going to the bathroom to read the Bible.
Wow.
I would be in an interview just like this, and I say, "Excuse me, could you excuse me for a second?"
Wow.
And I get up.
Wow.
And so I begin to sense something is going on.
Right.
Because mind you, I tried to run away from it.
Right.
You know, I did not want to go into ministry. Tried to run away from it. But everywhere I went, man, God was always putting me in that situation.
Right.
And so I kept sensing this thing, and one night, I never forget, it was in April of 1990, it just broke. And I just surrendered. And God just began to flood me with all kind of emotions, and I surrendered to Him. And you know, I'm not a crying person, but when I tell you, tears just took over my life. And man, I never forget, I went to my mother, because by this time my father was dead. He died in 1982. Former pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church, where Dr. Mendez is pastor.
And he was there for a while.
He was there for 33 years.
30-some years, right.
And so I always had people pushing me to that.
Right.
But it was on that night that I surrendered to that. And then in June 10th, 1990, I preached my initial sermon. And it's been the greatest move I've ever made in my life.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, man,
Surrendering to God without a doubt, man.
Just, you know, it's the whole thing of helping people to understand value in their life. That the greatest reward of my ministry is that when somebody can say to me, I feel like living another day. You know, what you said, I will never be the same, or I will let what I've been holding on to for the past 30 years go. That's it.
That's serious.
That's it. You know, there are other things that come with ministry, you know.
Right.
And in our ministry, I try to lift up men, because as a pastor,
we need it, man.
Yeah,
we need it.
But in the church, your pastor gets a lot of attention, you know, and that people call, everybody calling your name. But the idea is that's not important. Some people are in it for that.
Right.
That's not important. What you can't do is mishandle those privileges and accolades and power.
Right.
You know? And always remember that it's our chief job to smell like the sheep. To to be where they are,
right,
to understand their world,
right.
and to bring them to a greater place of
Is that is that your key to making sure? How do I put this? That God is the headliner in church and not your opening act, because it seemed like that happens a lot in ministry, as though God is the opening act, and then the pastor come out. All right, now it's time for the headliner. You heard the word, but here's what I'm going to say, and here's how it's going to go. That thin line between we're preaching that we should count on God, but we're really counting on the bishop.
Right.
How do you avoid that and make sure your church understands? No, it's not me. It's God. I understand my position.
Well,
how do you
let me just kind of
direction?
Dissect that a little
Okay.
bit. Okay. Because it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both. In the sense that one of the things that we have to constantly do is remind people that all of us are under His grace. All of us are here simply because of God.
Right.
I think our transparency and us keeping it real with people lets people understand and know that it is God that's in control of all things.
Right.
However, when Peter was in the book of Acts, when they received the Holy Ghost and they were going to the temple, and there was a man there that was lame. All right, Peter conferred the Holy Spirit on him, and then he said, "Look on us." All right. Now the look on us was that since I know you're not at a place to understand the invisible God, the only thing you really know at this point is me. So what I'm going to show you is what God desires for you as well. So there's a look on us idea that also people have to have. And they got to be able to say, I should look at you and say, man, Busta is at the top of his game, you know? And what do I do to be what Busta is? So I'm going to look on Busta. Now, Busta's always telling me that God is in charge of my life. But I'm going to look on Busta.
I got you, Bishop. I got you.
To see the moves I need to make to get where
I got you.
And there's a tension there.
I got you.
Yeah, there's a tension.
And we should have that thing where when a young lady came to the well and she was like, if I can touch the hem of his garment. We should have that about us. I like that what you said, because when we're in someone's presence, they should feel like this dude is serious. Yeah. That's real good.
See,
that's real
what
good,
we gotta
Bishop.
do, Busta,
good.
is we gotta restore integrity.
That's good.
Back to ministry. The word integrity comes from the Latin word integer. And an integer is a whole number that can't be divided. So then now, to have integrity means there should not be a separation between what I profess and who I am. There ought not be a division there.
That's it.
And so I think that what's needed today in ministry is that more people, more Christians have to begin to really live out.
Now, would you agree with this, that live out and that integrity should be practiced when no one was watching but God?
Absolutely.
Right.
And don't get me wrong.
Because when you walk, because God will bless you. Where you want to shine, God will give you that shine. It's in Matthew somewhere.
Sure.
Right.
Well,
so do your best when no one's watching.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
like
that's
that.
right. Because the integrity piece has to do with us knowing, without a shadow of a doubt, that we're doing the best we can to be the best we can.
That's right.
Now, you're going to make some turns. You're going to make some shortcomings. Because that's a part of it. But the integrity of that is I will confess that. And then I will get back on my job to do what I need to do. That's the integrity of it.
Now, your dad was at Emmanuel for 33 years.
That's right.
That's a long time.
That's right.
why didn't you fall right into ministry there?
Well, it's okay. So the way it's set up is
Right.
that once my father passed in '82,
Mm-hmm.
there was a search committee, and they did an excellent job in calling Dr. John Mendez, who
Okay.
is a life mentor for me
Right.
and my pastor.
Yeah.
I wasn't preaching at that time.
Okay.
And so I didn't start preaching until 1990.
Okay.
Even though I only started preaching later, I understood that the work that my father had and the anointing that he had on his life was for that congregation.
Right.
That doesn't mean that my work would have been there.
Gotcha.
I was located, man. I had just finished divinity school to do, and I just knew God was going to end up taking me somewhere
Right.
in this nation. I love big cities.
Right.
I love Chicago. I love Baltimore, Atlanta.
Yeah.
But he sends me to a rural church in Oxford, North Carolina,
And that's
20
all.
miles off the main highway. Nothing back there but church and trees.
Right.
And I was back there for 6 years.
Mm.
But man, it was the most rewarding thing in my
Wow.
life. And
Wow.
there was a test that I went, probably the greatest test of my ministry at that time was there.
Mm.
When I got to the church and there were some things that were out of order. We tried to address those things, and there was a sect in the church that wanted to take the church to court, and they did.
Mm.
The new pastor and the entire church to court. And so it was 350 people that were following what needed to be done, and 20 people that took the church to court.
Wow.
I had threats put on my life,
Mm.
and I was told if I ever come back to the church that they would drag my
And
body
that's
out.
something. Wow.
So one given Sunday, I never forget it. So the deacons got word of it, and when I got to church, they were in my office and they said, "Pastor, it's supposed to be a takeover here today, and so we have undercover security." Well, at that time, to have security in the church was like, unheard of.
Right.
And so the security came in and they said, "Listen, we understand there's going to be some problems here today, but if you sense anything wrong, just rub your eyebrows 3 times.
And
We
that's
got
something.
you."
Wow.
So the whole time I'm preaching,
Right.
I'm sweating, man, and I can't even wipe sweat on my eyes.
Right.
I ain't want no blood.
Right. Oh, wow.
But let me tell you,
Oh, that's something, dude.
we went to
Oh,
court.
yeah.
Judge ruled in our favor.
Right.
And man, after 3 years, that church just took off.
Wow.
It's a great church in New Hope Grandpa Baptist Church today. I love them, they love me.
Right.
But God sent me there to lead them through an exodus that needed to happen. And there was some other things going on.
Right.
But through it all, I never lost a night of sleep.
Right.
And the church only got stronger.
Right.
We were made stronger in our broken places.
Wow.
And so that was one of the greatest tests. But
That's the serious test, man. You're coming from a legacy of grandfather, uncles, your dad, 33 years in ministry. You running, but God found you. What in that legacy that you still teach today that is still effective?
oh man, that's great, man.
Right.
When those 15 years of my daddy was alive, he died when I was 15.
Right.
Man, I learned so much from him. Just so much from him.
Right.
One, that is to always keep God first. And 2, that humility will open any door you need it to open. And so in my family legacy, for those people who know my family, that's a major piece for all of my
God
family
first and humility.
And humility.
Wow.
Honor your family. My father loved his family.
Right.
So I'm a big family man.
Right.
I love my family. And they're right here in my heart, And so how to get along with all people in the church.
Right.
I believe church should be intergenerational. and that I watched my dad spend time with seniors and love on children. And so all of that comes out of me, you know. And ministry was not something that we picked up and put down. It is something that I saw him live every day.
Right.
Every day. So for me, ministry was always seen to be was something on a professional level.
Right.
It's not just preaching on Sunday. It's, you know, my dad.
So you ain't picking it up, putting it down.
No,
That's
no,
not
no,
what's
no,
in
man.
you.
It's everything you do is connected to that.
Okay.
Everything you do. If you go to a Charlotte Hornets basketball game, it's connected to
You
that.
represent.
You represent.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and people need to see that the pastor can have a good time.
Right. Man, that is so important to me. Man. It's like, what better example than seeing your bishop or your pastor enjoy himself at maybe a little live music thing, and you seeing, it's like, oh, that's how you handle it, because how could you preach something you are not living in?
Let me tell you something.
This is the
man.
real world, Bishop.
We do a Christian dance gala.
Right.
Okay. Well, when you come, we're gonna invite you to our next one.
I look forward
Matter
to
of fact, we're gonna get you the MC.
I'm doing it.
But let me tell you, when you get there, we're gonna be dancing.
Having a good time.
Having a good time. And I discovered that when I would go to my memories, family reunions, and get there in the backyard, everybody doing the Cuban shuffle.
Exactly.
So,
we don't know if David did the Cabin Patch or not. They say, dance like David did. We don't know if David did the wobble. That could be old.
So, man, you gotta, ministry has to incorporate so many
real
parts.
life.
When you talk about Black history, man, that's in us as a people.
Right.
And that in Africa there wasn't a separation between the religious part of it and the government part of it and the social part of it. It was all there.
All there.
And so I just believe that. Now we have some challenges today because our millennials believe in being very transparent. I think transparency should not be ecclesiastical nudity.
Right.
Some of them get too nude to where
and too raw.
where the message gets lost.
Right.
So in our transparency, it should be some drawing to Christ.
Right.
And
what do you think we've lost from when ministry started years and years ago, when we really all we had was to depend on God? Now we can depend on, if I meet Oprah, if I meet Bill Gates, back then we didn't have that. It's
I just get to church,
really connect with God.
Right.
I can get through this.
That's right.
Slaves can be free. Yeah. We can eat what we want. That's all we had.
Yeah.
How do we lose that, Doc? Like, how do we lose that dependency on God? Like, you understand that question?
Yes, sir.
What's missing?
I think that we as a people, we've gone through somewhat of an identity crisis. It was the church and God who defined us.
Right, exactly.
When we didn't have anything.
Exactly.
You remember back in the day, man, it seemed like everybody came up in the same house.
That's right.
We all had a working TV that sat on top of the broken TV
right.
in the living room.
And a fork changed the
and a little coat hanger in the back.
Exactly, that was your antenna with the foil on top of the antenna.
So we didn't, and our reliance was on him for definition, for access, for provision.
Right.
And then we got to a place, and there's a sociological change in the landscape today, where even Sunday mornings are no longer sacred. And I have started something in Union to make Sunday sacred again for us, because we allow so many things to come in on Sunday morning that now we're even too busy to just come and be among people.
Right.
It's not just coming to hear a sermon. It is coming to be connected.
To be connected.
With somebody else, and also to get empowered to go back and face what it is that we have to face. I think we've lost that because we allow so many things to get in the way at some point. And I think we got to return to that. And one thing about the political times that we're facing and the tension that President Trump is causing all over the world, I believe that people are going to come back to that center.
Right.
Because they're going to have to.
Well, we're going to have to realize that President Trump or any political figure replaced Obama, not God.
Yes.
And when we realize that he replaced just a man and not God, we're going to be okay. Look what we got through, Bishop.
I like
Look what God got us through.
And that's our history, man.
That's who we are. Freedom.
Yes.
I noticed one of the things I feel like we lost is freedom. You know, it's a scripture in the Bible. You know where it is. It says, wherever there's a spirit of Jesus, there's freedom. And I don't think a lot of people feel free in church. I don't feel like a lot of people feel free in front of the congregation and in front of the pastor. That's what we're supposed to be, free. How do we lose that? Where no matter who you are, what size, what your status is, what your financial status is, you know, God accepts you and loves you equally.
Sure.
But when we come to church, if we don't fit, look, and have a certain status, we don't feel free.
Right.
What happened, man?
Well, the freedom that I think you're talking about is
To just be you.
To just be you.
Yeah.
There needs to be more of a whole gospel preached.
Okay.
And Sunday, I dealt with David, and I love to deal with David because David represents humanity and divinity at its best.
Right.
There was always this tension with him. You know?
Yeah.
That here's this man that talks about the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And then he goes and he sleeps with Bathsheba. You know?
Wow.
And then he gets into these situations. So then now I believe that what we got to do is to do a better job to show that every character in the Bible dealt with their own issues.
Even Abraham.
And
man.
even Abraham.
Yeah, dealt with some stuff.
And it's just that when we get to Christ, that Christ highlights this purity, but even in his purity, he says to his Father, let this cup pass from me. So I think we got to do a better job with showing attention, which allow people to be free. You don't have to come here perfect.
Right.
You know, we do a drug dealers conference every year.
It's fantastic.
And we bring drug dealers in off the street, prostitutes, people who live the street life. But the part of that is what people don't understand is that you got to shape the culture of that first. That when they come in here, you can't be judgmental about where they have
This has got the church has got to be the judge-free, the non-judgmental zone.
Yes.
Judge-free zone.
You can't be judgmental.
No.
And the reason I love that ministry is because it reminds so many of us that it should have been us. And it could have been us.
Right.
And so every year, I would love to see that ministry stay in place at this church for the remaining history of this church.
Right.
Because it reminds us that, hey, we're all in this together.
We're all in this together. And that brings me to the Global United Fellowship.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that.
Global United Fellowship, under the leadership of our presiding prelate, Bishop Neil C. Ellis, who is from Nassau, Bahamas. Bishop Ellis is the head, the presiding prelate of our organization. But we are in 38 countries. Wow. We have 1,000+ churches. That's a part of our fellowship. My responsibility is to galvanize the pastors and churches in the state of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And so I serve as Metropolitan Bishop over that particular district. Okay. We come together for church empowerment, for information sharing, to strengthen other congregations. It's a phenomenal experience. It's a phenomenal fellowship. And I'm so glad I'm a part of it.
That's what's up.
Yeah. I think every pastor should be connected to something larger than what they have.
Right.
You know, and so I like getting vision and ideas from places and people who've done it.
That's what's up. Your wife, how long you been married?
Been married 6 years.
6 years. Wow. Beautiful wife.
Oh, yes.
Your mom.
Yes.
What role do they play in keeping you grounded?
Oh, man.
Keeping you where you are. Because you're tested, man.
Yes.
I know you go through test after test, man. What role do your wife and your mom play in your life?
I'll start with my mother.
Okay.
I'll start with my mother.
Okay.
She's 88 years old.
Wow.
And she's one of my strongest supporters of ministry.
Amen.
And she's also that voice that will say, no, you need to look at that again.
Go ahead, Mom Mack.
And the tension is, you know, she's seeing it from another perspective in some cases. And the tension is, I will listen to her, but I also have to tell her, this is a pastoral move that I need to make.
Right.
But she praised me through this stuff, man. She's a counselor for me, you know, and I talk to her and she gives me good advice. My wife serves in the same capacity. My wife is very supportive of my ministry. One of the things that I really do appreciate is that she has never allowed herself to get in the way of what I do. You know, if I gotta be gone for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, she understands that assignment and supports me in that, and praise me through that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm sure she knows your story, how you ran from ministry.
Oh, yeah.
Because of that same thing.
Right.
So, having that conversation with your wife says, look, baby,
man.
I ran because of the sacrifice that come with it. So now that I accept it, work with
it helps to have a
Amen.
nurturing environment and family that's pushing you. Man, come on, okay, I know you gotta go, let's go do it. And not saying, oh, why you going there?
Right.
Those two don't go together in terms of ministry.
Right.